Login accepted.
Hey, welcome to the tech capital of the world, Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Bobby Day, CEO and founder of Foundry. I'm joined by Kevin on a brisk day out here, but beautiful day in North Carolina, Kevin.
Yep, got cold, didn't it? It snowed.
Yeah.
North Carolina and
We
snow
did get
don't
some
mix.
snow.
It's like two things that don't go together.
Yeah, but it wasn't
We're here,
bad
don't know what
though,
to do
so I'm
with it.
hoping we get some more snow. We need a good snow. But
I don't know, it was all
pretty
right.
fun,
It was good for a day and then it warmed up, didn't it? So
yeah,
it's,
it was pretty cool.
We can handle that usually. Any more than that and people are like, ah.
Yeah.
This is our first show of the new year. So
Yeah, it is.
a whole new 2022 now.
Yeah. Got new posters in the background, everything. So we're all
Yeah, I
set.
see that. Hold on, let's look at your wide shot. Let's see what a cable and an X-Force.
Well, X-Force action. So I like that.
What's when are those from? Are those 90s comics? Is that
It's 2019 and 2020.
okay,
They're from,
it's the new ones. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they're pretty new.
Yeah, I can say I can't quite tell. I can't quite tell the art style. This is a little bit blue. That's by design, by the way. It's meant to be blue.
Yeah.
So yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. I like it. We're on we're in a different weird though because we're on a different day, in a different time slot. Like
Yeah, I was
we've mixed
teaching
it up.
yesterday, and we just didn't get to the live stream
It
yesterday.
was our first
so
day of class yesterday, wasn't it? So for a new cohort.
yeah.
So that's always cool.
So we're rocking some bootstrap today. We still teaching when I get off this, and still going after it. So
they're working on the
having
grids
fun.
today. Then is that the bootstrap?
Yeah, bootstrapping the grids. So if you're in the self-paced course, you know kind of what we're talking about. So if you're not, shameless plug.
Oh, shameless plug. I'll put it up.
Learn.coderfoundry, learn how to build bootstrap in the grids. Go to learn.coderfoundry. Shameless plug.
Like it.
No, but there's some cool stuff going on today. I mean, CES is in person.
Yeah.
So like if you're in the electronics world or the gadget world or things like that, most of us that code are. There's some really cool things that are going on that I think are kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. It's kind of
nothing
weird, isn't it?
earth-shattering yet. But
Right. This is the first. So I think this is the first year in like 2 years now they've been back, right? I think, or did they just cancel last year? Maybe they just canceled last year. I'm not sure. But whatever. It's back in person, but like a bunch of companies pulled out of it. All the big ones pulled out of it, pretty much.
Right. Right at the last second because of Omicron. Yeah.
Yep. So there's a lot of big ones there still, but that spike in coronavirus cases just made people pull out. But there's still some people going. I've still seen some people on Twitter that I follow that have gone. They have their little passes and. They're showing pictures of like their pass in one hand and their COVID test in the other. Because I guess you got a test to go in. So, like
maybe one day we'll cover CS. We'll make it, and we'll be able to be press, and walk around and
that'd be cool.
Do a live shot from CES.
That'd be cool. One day we'll go. Definitely on my bucket list. So a couple of things came out of there. Like, so VR wise, PlayStation announced their VR 2 headset, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's going to come out. They didn't put an exact date or price on it. They put some specs on it. Has eye tracking, by the way. Kind of cool.
Right.
That's the first one we're going to kind of see with that, which is kind of an interesting thing. And it's going to be 2022. They just haven't said when or what price. But
is it wired? It's still wired.
It's still wired. Yeah, it is still wired. Yeah, which is interesting. They obviously haven't been able to figure out that wireless technology yet. So Oculus kind of has. They have it to the PC, to the thing wirelessly. And it works okay. There's still a wide solution you can use as well, but it uses like the wideband on. You got to have a certain kind of router to be able to do it, and there's there's a lot of the tech you've got to have. Which I guess if you have a PlayStation and you buy this thing, you've got to also invest in additional tech to do it wirelessly. So maybe they just thought cable was the easiest way. I don't know.
Yeah, it is the easiest and the least expensive.
It is, but
way.
it's the most inconvenient too, though. It's kind of I don't know, being tethered.
It probably ensures the optimal experience except for tripping over the wire and unplugging it and and then if you're in a big room, how long is the wire, so
well, people have these solutions, don't they, for them where they tether the wire above their head where they're standing, so they put like a little system in that has the wire come off the top, which I get, but that's extra infrastructure you've got to put in place. That's not something you can put in the living room, is it? You're not gonna have a wire dangling from the ceiling in your living room where your PlayStation is. It just seems weird. So, and the other thing that got me was you're announcing a new peripheral for a product you can't even buy readily.
Yeah, it's hard to get PlayStation 5.
You can't walk into a store right now and buy a PlayStation 5. There's not a store in town. There's not a store within this area right now that I could walk into and buy a PlayStation 5. Yet you want to sell a peripheral, and it's like, what? Really? Just make more PlayStation 5s. What are you doing? Like, get this VR thing for a second. Let somebody else deal with that. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing was this look too. Yeah, this one here. So a new graphics card too. We'll talk about these here a little bit. But a 3090 Ti. So previously the flagship model has been a 3090, which by the way, NVIDIA's always said that it's not a gaming graphics card. It's 100% a gaming graphics card. They're lying to you. It is a gaming graphics card. You can use it for gaming and it will totally be the fastest, best gaming card you can have. But now they're doing a 3090 Ti. Again, same problem. You can't buy a 30 anything right now. So why are we introducing another new flagship model? I don't get where these companies are going.
And it is a monster of a GPU. It's a lot like Bigfoot. Like you don't know if it really exists. I mean, people talk about it, but you can't really.
People talk about it. You're never going to see one. You're never going to see one in person. There's just blurry photos like this one. Look, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's blurry. It's taken from a long ways away. So it's like a Bigfoot photo.
And it's crazy because it uses, by the way, this GPU that it uses, this G812, it's the same GPU they put in 3080s and existing 3090s. They're literally taking away manufacturing from a card that you currently can't buy to put in a new card that you're never going to be able to buy.
Yeah. And like NZXT, the manufacturer of my gaming PC, you can get these things if you buy the whole PC, and actually, it's probably the cheapest way to get it right now because, like, if you go to the flipper sites, I mean, like, wow.
Oh, they're crazy. It's insane. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't buy them. I'm saying you can buy them if you're willing to pay double like MSRP,
like $2,000 or $3,000. It's just or more. I mean, so it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. So, there you go. Jason says, there you go. So a 3070 for $1,200 on eBay. By the way, a 3080 is MSRP'd at only 700 and something. So it's like card above this one. The MSRP for these 3070s, I think, is like $600 or something. It's like double the price. It's insane. And
it is. I mean,
getting
it's
another
like
new card.
Pre-COVID, these things were plentiful, and you could get them, and they were fairly inexpensive and cheap, and like only at the very highest end were they really expensive, and you could always buy the one or two below it and get that sweet price point, and you just can't do that anymore. You can't even get them.
You can't get anything, no. So it's crazy. It's just nuts. If you're building a PC these days, I don't know what you do. You spend you either go for a pre-built one from something like NZXT, who I bought mine from, you bought yours from too. Yeah. Pre-built, and then you can kind of get what you want, even though sometimes you can't always get what you want. You can't always go there every day and spec out a system with a 3080. You may get and sometimes it's like they build with what they have, so they'll sell what they have. They may have 3070s, and like that's the only thing they can offer you. And it's like you go with that or you wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. David wants to know what's the protocol. Should I just send my question? Yeah, David, put it in chat. We will queue them up, and we will get to the questions here in a second.
Yeah.
But yes,
HTTP3.
Throw it up there.
It's the quick protocol.
Say again?
I'm just kidding. Little computer humor for the day. So
I like it.
So yeah, just put it in chat and we'll queue it up.
Didn't you recently have to upgrade a card to a lower card that you didn't want to put in, like a 3060 or something?
Yeah, I did.
And overpay for it?
We upgraded Edit Bay. There's an Edit Bay here that we had to upgrade. It had a really older card.
Yeah. It's like we had to get what we could get.
The guy that bought it from is literally called Atlanta Flippers. I mean, that was his name. He's not even hiding it, the fact that he's gouging the crap out of me. So, but had to have one, so I upgraded.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get what you get.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, so I thought those two things were kind of interesting, and then something else that you had seen was this too.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Cool. Yeah, so a dual cam doorbell for people in packages. Now, if you've ever you have one of these at home. You have one of these video doorbell things? Okay, I do. I have the Wise one. It's a lower end one. It's not like it's cheap. But the one thing about it is it has a wide angle, but it can't see like down so much. So if somebody does leave a package, I can't tell they've actually left the package. So I can't see the package. So this is actually a genius thing. I love this idea. So it has a camera in the front
downward facing
and a downward facing camera down here. Look at the packages.
Yeah.
I think this is smart. this is very smart. And then you suggest like, what's next? Like a third camera? Like,
third cameras?
Maybe this thing's just going to be like, it's a bank of cameras on your door to get every angle.
Yeah, exactly. You can move them, little robot slider.
Yep.
So you can
looking
slide
up,
it around.
looking down. There's a left, a right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought this was cool though. I like this idea.
Little rack focus pole. I think you need that too. So you get that cinematic delivery.
That's it. There's going to be a whole there's going to be a whole YouTube channel of just people delivering packages in 4K, beautiful bokeh rack focus stuff.
Right. Yeah. And you can shout your directorial instructions from the camera. Okay. Hold it. I need you to walk back up in there. Ready? Action.
Oh, that's funny. UPS guys are going to get sick of this, aren't they? Maybe they're already sick of what we've got. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lordison says, I bought an Alienware system to get my 30 series card. Yeah, I got tired of waiting. Yep. That seems to be the way to do it.
Pretty much what you got to do these days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's kind of it. There's not
a lot of times when you look at it, man, so I was looking at a pre-built NZXT H1 for a friend. I was like, hey man, look at this thing. It was like $2,000 or whatever it was, $2,100 for a pretty nice PC.
Yeah.
And that whole PC was cheaper than his aftermarket flipped graphics card. All he wanted was a new graphics card. I'm like, well, just get the whole PC, man. That way you can get a new i7, you can get a couple of SSDs, it was just a lot better.
Yeah, it is unfortunate if you're in a position where you build your own and you've kind of got everything else and you're just waiting on that graphics card, it sucks.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of stuck with everything already.
Yeah.
Some people have been stuck for what are we on, 14 months after release now and still haven't got one. They've got I see people complaining all the time because there's these weird queues you can wait in and there's you can get lucky maybe.
Yeah.
Or you can spend way too much on one. It's anyway, it's you can't just walk into a store and buy one.
You just can't. It used to be you can't do it anymore. It kind of sucks.
It does. So as David asked, let's do his question first. And then we'll get to a couple of others we've got here too. So David says, I'm a front-end developer based here in Nigeria. I have 3 years of experience, but somehow can't land a remote job in job sites and all. I mainly used, I guess that's Next.js and Vue.js and Laravel sometimes. What can I do? So David's looking for a remote job.
Yeah, I think, David, number one, make sure your portfolio is on point. So if you're a front-end developer, make sure you have a really good proof of work on your portfolio with projects. And then look at those projects. And so as you say, I already got some. How complicated are they? Are they too simple? Those kind of things. Get maybe a third party to review your portfolio to see what they think, especially someone that's technical. And I do think that finding a job around trying to break in also is just the portfolio really does move the needle, helps you.
Well, David also says he has 3 years of experience. So I don't know if that's just experience developing or experience on the job. If that's on the job, you need to be leveraging that too.
Yeah, you leverage that. And then, and if you're getting to interviews and you're not winning interviews, then start writing down questions you're getting and seeing kind of what questions you're failing. You're doing something wrong if you have 3 years of experience writing code. And so it's probably a really simple fix, and just see if you can get that done.
And there's a couple of different things here too. So there's a couple of different things. Are you not getting an interview, or are you getting an interview and then not getting past the interview? Because that's another thing too. Maybe you're strong up to that point, but then something's happening during the interview stage that you're failing at.
Yeah.
So look at what stage you're not getting past either. If you can't get an interview, it's something about your proof of work or your resume or something you're doing early on in the process. If you can get to the interview but you're not landing the job, that's something to do with the interview skills, because they've already kind of looked at your experience and said, okay, this guy can obviously do it, but then something is happening during the interview process that's wrong. You need to try and figure out what that is. So it depends.
Yep. Hope that helps, David. Good luck. Keep trying. You keep doing it. You'll be fine. Eventually you'll get there.
Definitely keep on it. So another question we have. So Samyadeep, hope I pronounced that correctly. So I want to become a Google software dev. So what languages should I learn for getting into?
So I'm assuming you want to work at Google.
I would say that. Right? I mean, if you want to be a Google software dev, let's say that.
So so what you need to go is look at Google's and see what they're hiring for and what the roles do and what the languages are that they're hiring for. What I would suggest is, I know it's cool and trendy to say I want to work at a company. I think you should focus on getting a software job. And then once you have a software job, then you can easier transition into Google. So I don't know what your experience is. I don't know what you're doing, but like, you can just go look and see what type of roles they're hiring for and what the stack is they're using for that particular role. I do know that obviously Go is going to be important to Google. So you could start there. Flutter is important to Google. You could start there. So it depends on what they're hiring for and what they're doing. If you're doing something on the OS team, that's going to be C++ or something like that as well. So maybe Go as well. So depends on your background, what you qualify for, and then what they're hiring for and what the stack is. So sorry, that's not exactly what you want, but like go look and see what they're hiring for.
Yeah, I mean,
but I wouldn't restrict myself to one company. I really wouldn't. I would just broaden my search.
Yeah, because you may. I mean, here's the other thing too about that. When you do restrict yourself to one company, because you're just starting out, it may not be the right fit. Like you may be a fit for them 2 years down the line, and because you've put your eggs in that one basket, you never break in, and you never end up being there because you can't get there straight away. So what you need to do is think about doing something else first, building up enough skills to be able to get that job at Google, then going to Google. You don't find many newbies get hired at larger companies like that, unless they have specific programs to hire newbies, right? So Microsoft has like their Leap program, right? They put people through, they take people from boot camps, they put people through then their own boot camps, so they're technically gone through 2 boot camps, then they give some of them jobs, right?
And
afterwards.
And I don't know the name of the program, but I think at one time Google had a similar program. I don't know the name of it.
I think they do.
Yeah, so like just go to their site and just Google it, so look at see what you can figure out.
But if you don't get into that,
an intern type program as well.
Exactly. But if you don't get into that, don't feel bad about taking a job. Yeah, don't quit. Don't take a job somewhere else. Because it could be 2 years down the line. Get experience. That's it. Exactly. Yeah, it's tough to put all your eggs in that one basket, especially with a large company like that who everybody wants to work there and they only have so many seats, right? So that's just how it is. They're going to hire somebody with more experience generally. Okay. Let's see. Sebastian wants to know, I want to create an e-commerce C2C as a learning method, and if it works as business, how do I start?
So you want a consumer-to-consumer e-commerce platform.
I guess it's building it as a learning, just to learn.
Yeah, so you want to learn how to build a shopping site or something like that. So you definitely can do that. There's plenty of probably courses out there that you can go download for building that specific piece of software. The other advice is you can also look at Shopify development.
Definitely.
Shopify's done a lot of the work and build components for Shopify. And then you can also set your store up easier and just get to that. So it depends on what you mean by start as a business. If you just want to start a store and sell things, I think the quickest way right now is Shopify to get there. And there's also a Shopify tutorials and things like that. Our friend Joe Santos at Coding Phase teaches a lot of Shopify courses. So that may be something you want to check into to see how those things are built. You can sell Shopify components. You can enhance your Shopify site with code. So there's a lot you can do with it. So hope that
definitely
helps.
Definitely go check out Joe. Let's here we go. Go check out Joe's thing, Coding Phase. He definitely has courses over here, and I know he does a bunch of Shopify stuff over here. So go check that out. It's codingphase.com, by the way. Is that a shameless plug for Joe? I don't know.
Yeah, tell him I sent you.
That's funny. Okay, let me see. What's our next question? Let's do Joe's question. Joe is from Venezuela. Hey, Joe. All the way down there in Venezuela. I like it. I want to be an expert developer, but algorithms and Big O are really hard for me. No experience on basic math, by the way.
So let's do this, man. Let's focus in on web development. Algorithms and Big O aren't necessarily everything you need to know, or even necessarily really you need to know. You need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some kind of server-side language. So I think you could start there to see if you could break in that way. I think a lot of the computer science stuff holds people back from trying to understand these things.
Yeah,
And while the algorithms in Big O have a place, it's not the only thing that you need to know. So you can build websites without ever running into Big O notation, for sure.
We've definitely 100% had students come through our program that have zero experience before, they don't have a master's in math. They were doing real estate or something before, right? They come through the program, they learn how to build websites, and they go on and get jobs and build websites. And still to this day, I've never ran into Big O or algorithms or anything. They're just building websites, and they're making six-figure salaries. So
yeah, so Joe, here's what I want you to think about. I'm reading more into your question. I want to be an expert developer. I want you to change that thought process. I want to break in as a developer, and then I want to aspire to be an expert. So like, don't think you have to know everything to break into this industry. You have to know enough to get a job, and then stay committed to your craft and learn throughout your career and build upon that. So don't let some of these higher things that you perceive really difficult or computer sciencey type things stop you from pursuing that dream. So web development is where it's at anyway. That's where most of the jobs are anyway. So a lot of times algorithms and Big O just aren't applicable to get in a job there. So
yep. Yeah, Clara, we're throwing everybody off today. We're just going live at random times now. It's going to be a thing for 2022,
I was busy
right?
Yesterday, so
we're not scheduling anything anymore. We're just gonna let it roll at random times. Maybe it'll be like, maybe we'll do Saturday at like 1 a.m. or something. Maybe that's what we'll be on next.
Get that Australian crowd, like they're awake. So
exactly. I've seen some of our friends like Tech Rally, like Alex. He'll do like a Twitter Space at like 1 a.m. in the morning or something. I'm like,
yeah.
Dude, do you sleep?
He's too young. I'm asleep. I'm asleep at 1 a.m.
I'm well asleep by 1 a.m. I've been asleep for hours at 1 a.m.
Yeah. I'm deep in my REM movements.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And you're right on time, Clara, really. We've just been, talking CES stuff. Let's see. Izzy G's question. Are front-end developers being phased out?
No, No, I don't think so at all. I don't know why you think that, but no, you still have to write front ends to do things. So, I mean, currently right now, as we sit today, you got to build web pages with Bootstrap, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They're essential front end skills that you got to have. And those jobs are plentiful and they're lucrative. They're not being phased out. I don't know what you would phase it out for. It's like, how are we going to not build the websites anymore? So no, I don't think so.
I think we constantly have these discussions, don't we? We constantly have these fears that we joke about this a lot, that that AI is going to take over, and automated something is going to take our jobs. We've been hearing that since like the first computer was rolled into that room and somebody said like, oh, this thing's going to take over your job. It's been going on for 50 something years now, whatever it is. It's like,
content management systems have been around since the beginning of the web pretty much. And even now, even though we have Squarespace and Wix and all these other web builders and all these things, and yes, some jobs have been replaced by those. But if you look at the overall job market, I mean, that hasn't shrunk at all. It's just exploded and exponentially grown even farther. So we were looking at job searches and one of our research for our videos, and we looked at one given day, and it was like 90,000 U.S. opens for C# developers with a very simplistic search term in there.
Yep.
90,000 job openings for C# developers. So I'm sure front end similar. I mean, like front end skills based on what stack you're going to do front end with. Pretty similar numbers that you can go find a job in any state in the U.S. Now, if you're somewhere else, I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think front end developers being phased out. How else are we going to build the front ends? I mean, you got to build it. Someone's got to build it.
Yeah.
And there's no automatic tool that's really building these things. So that's the thing people don't understand about Squarespace. Squarespace is fantastic until you need something specialized, and when you need something specialized, it's not fantastic.
Yeah.
Like you end up like, okay, I need to change this. I need to build a website.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And even then, even something like Squarespace. Remember, I mean, thinking back to, remember when like the first bout of like WYSIWYG editors came out, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we saw a front page or whatever. It's like, oh, it's going to kill development. People can now just drag and drop this stuff. Yeah, it didn't. It created terrible code, and it's even technical enough that you needed to kind of be a developer to even use it anyway. Right. To adjust anything in it, you still had to understand it all anyway. So it's the same kind of thing with Squarespace. You still have to have some idea of web design. You can still ruin a Squarespace site.
Yeah.
You know,
you still can. You can make it ugly.
You can make it really bad looking. You can make it unfunctioning. You know, you really can. So yeah, it's here to stay, I think.
Yep. So Izzy, you can feel confident. Invest your skills in front end development.
And there you go. Izzy was thinking from like an AI standpoint, which is what I think most people are when they say that. Like, oh, this thing's going to create this thing, and it's going to do. It's not. It's not yet, anyway. Put it that way.
No, it's
You know our thoughts on Skynet. I think it's coming. Bobby doesn't. So it's
the mesh network is coming though. Like, you know, so like when you start looking at the two mesh networks that are coming out for satellites, you're like, okay, I can see kind of.
You know, if you think about it, if anybody's going to be behind Skynet, it's going to be Elon Musk, right? I mean, it has to be. It's like the ultimate, like, you know, you could see him just like in his lab with his little thing, you know, you could see it. It's
so GPS3 is becoming way more accurate and sophisticated. So that's another thing. So
GPT-3?
Yeah. So that's where these Elon Musk and these guys are building these mesh networks for that. And also communications like low orbit satellites for communication, internet, and things like that. So,
yep. You know. Here you go. Lordison has a thing here. Think like mechanics. They have newer, better troubleshooting devices, but they still need to be a mechanic to fix the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Anybody that's tried, you know, people have talked about GitHub Copilot, right? Anybody who's tried that, I've played with it a little bit. Like, it can create some things, but it doesn't write it for you. You can't tell it, hey, create me a to-do list. With it doesn't do that. It can write a loop, it can write a statement, it can write a few things, and it can give you framework for a few things, but it can't create a whole thing based on like, hey, just go make me this. That's not how it works. It's a tool. Like you said, it is just a new advanced tool that makes it so you type less. You still have to understand the logic and how to put it together.
Right.
It just makes typing less. So. Okay. Next question.
Phil if you got a burning question, just leave us a super chat. We'll try to get you on the show here. But so
otherwise,
what's Phil got?
Phil says, "Hey, Coder Foundry, love what you guys are doing. Thank you. Phil, appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. I'm a co-founder of a tech startup. Awesome, but don't know how to code. Okay, not a problem. I've tried to learn several times, but I keep stopping on the way."
So, Phil, what's your role in the startup? Are you in sales? Are you in management? Are you in product design? You don't have to know how to code to be a co-founder at a tech startup. So
we've had some like entrepreneurs come to us before at the bootcamp, haven't we? Who have had a company who wanted just to learn how to code, just so they kind of understood how to talk the language to the developer and have a better understanding of what was possible, which is kind of interesting. But you know, shameless plug, you could take the course.
You just go here. We'll teach you how to code, man. See if you can get there. You know, but good luck in the startup. Hopefully, it works well for you. So you know, there's other areas in that startup that are equally important. Like the technology is important, the sales is important, the management's important, the product vision is drastically important. Like, where are we going? What does it need to do? And what's my user feedback? And taking those and turning that into software. So it's all that stuff's important.
Yeah, if you can rely on somebody else to be the developer, rely on somebody else.
Yeah.
That's funny. Let me look. In 17 years, as long as Skynet doesn't go down the Dalek route, because oh, it's going to have advanced stair climbing abilities. You know it is. That's going to be one of the first things it solves.
We already got that robot dog. It can do steps already, man.
Elon Musk and his thing. He doesn't need stairs. No, he doesn't need the robot dog either. He's got his tunnel. He's already got the Boring Company. He's like, forget stairs. He's already like tunneling under LA. That's where Skynet's hiding, somewhere down there under LA.
So I'm assuming, I'm going to show my ignorance here, but I think I understood that reference. He's talking about Doctor Who, right? So I got it, right?
Yeah,
and
you got it.
It's the round thing that
I forgot you don't watch, do you? Yeah, Daleks. I actually, I have one somewhere. I just don't have one out. But they're the little, they're on like, they just roll.
They just roll around.
They're flat bottomed and they roll around. Yeah.
They could easily be defeated, but for some reason they're like Doctor Who's arch nemesis or something like that, right?
Oh, but don't forget, I mean, in later they do fly too. Lasers, they did fly.
Oh, they fly now? Okay.
Yeah. You know, they had to do away with it. Don't forget, this came out in like the 60s and 70s originally,
yeah,
so it was like, you know,
a little bit better now.
Exactly. It was some dude in a costume before, so you know, there you go. Yeah, here you go. Craig says same thing. Daleks can fly now. Yeah, you know, they fixed that problem.
Trouble.
You know, they've, you know, I don't know. Maybe Skynet is the Dalek. Okay, let's see. Giovanni wants to know thoughts on HoloLens. I know you have some thoughts on HoloLens.
I like it. So like HoloLens is a very cool project, and you're not going to see a lot of it in the consumer space. So like when you look at what Facebook is doing, HoloLens is never going to grab that space, and they're not trying to do that. They're trying to invent a business-focused device. HoloLens, we'll see when the next one comes out. I would imagine we will see one this year, just because of the competition that's coming out, and everyone's introducing new looks and feels. The HoloLens is a pure AR device that has the computing in the headset itself, has its own chip. It's pretty cool. It maps the room, which is kind of cool. So it's got a very complex meshing system, so you can place things in the mesh in the room and that kind of stuff. So it's cool. It's just the point of view, or the field of view is the thing that's limiting the HoloLens and every other non-AR device. Or a VR device doesn't have that problem because you can just surround your head in a screen. But with AR, you're projecting an image, usually through a Pepper's Ghost technique, and that's the way the HoloLens works, and it puts it out here, but that screen is it's not wide enough to be fully immersive, and I think that's one of the things they're learning on or working on. So,
and you know a lot about this because you actually have one right over your shoulder. I can see it in the shot.
Me, like it's in the shot, so you can see it on the desk over there. They're kind of expensive, $3,000 to $4,000 for a developer-focused device. But I think there's a lot of promise there. It's just you're not gonna play population 1 on the HoloLens ever. I mean, I don't think that's the purpose of the device.
Yeah.
Their thing is you could see them using that technology in a manufacturing environment, a repair environment, in a different kind of heads-up display environments, where that headset can be integrated in different kind of helmets or different kind of devices or whatever. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the next one. I think it will be a big leap. I think we're likely to see it's this year or next year is my guess.
Yeah.
We're going to see whatever they're going to do is going to be this year into next year. Likewise, we're going to see something from Google, something from Apple. Obviously, we're going to see Facebook's next VR thing as well. Whether that does AR as well, probably will be my guess. So we're going to see a lot of these things. But yeah, we'll see. But I agree. I don't think it's going to be a consumer tech ever. Doesn't seem like it's going to be. They're ever going to push it to consumer focus. They want to keep in the kind of the corporate thing where I think we used it before, where you're working on a truck or something, and it's like the mechanic,
right?
And see like how this part's supposed to move or something.
Right.
We're not going to play Pop One on it.
But I mean, when you look at it, they released or bought stereo kit. So like when you look at what they're doing, they're building up the tooling in around something like a HoloLens, and we'll see what's next. So I imagine we'll eventually see an announcement this year or next year.
I think so. Yep. Okay. Edwin says, will Coder Foundry Bootcamp become available to people who are not U.S. residents in terms of future expectations for the bootcamp? It can be right now.
So you can take the self-paced course right now. We don't care where you live. To come in person, we're on the East Coast and we do it in person. You can do that too from overseas. It's just that the loan programs aren't available outside the U.S. and maybe that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
that's the one thing we can't do, right? We can't offer an ISA.
We're never going to be able to overcome that. I don't think they're ever going to license an ISA outside the U.S. ever.
Yeah. So you can come if you pay for it up front.
Yeah,
but again, it's on East Coast time frame as well, so it's like,
although
it's in person virtual, so you got to show up at a certain time every day, and it's so there is that, so you can do it.
But the self-paced course is available to you right now, and you can go there and read about different options.
Yeah, you can go right there. And if you're unsure, just apply too, and somebody will get back to you.
They'll talk to you all through the programs, what your options are.
They'll figure it all out with you. you're unsure about something. Let's see. InfoVid, what do you think about metaverse?
So what we've been talking about a lot of time, and let's talk about the metaverse as a term. And what I think about it is, I think AR is coming, and that's what I was saying before when we talk about. I'm going to say it again: the death of JavaScript. It's not that it's going to die today, but I think AR devices is the next screen shift, and you can call it the metaverse, you can call it whatever. But I think that we're going to start seeing information on a different device. And I think that's going to change the way we write code, the way code's delivered, the way applications are built, the devices that we're using to consume applications. And I think that, in my view, that I'm super excited about that. The metaverse is a lot of things. I mean, like, it's a lot of things. Like, so people are buying land and games and things like that, physically paying money to buy and own a piece of land in a real game. So that's kind of interesting to me, but I'm more interested in the merging of technology and the overlay in the real world, where we can see contextual information based on where we're at. And I think that's the thing. When I talk about metaverse, that's where it's going to go. I don't think it's Ready Player One, where we spend our whole day on a treadmill and a headset. I think it's a little bit better than that, actually, like, where we can, like, still walk around in the real world, and, as we say in the desk community, touch grass, still get outside, and like, take in real sunlight. I don't think it's Ready Player One, but I think it's different, where we can walk around, experience information, very hyper localized where we're at, and that's where the apps are going to be.
I agree, and a massive opportunity for developers is the thing.
Massive opportunity for companies, developers. Someone's going to make $1 billion doing this for sure, and it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when it happens.
Yep. Because we all want it, right? We all want to be able to walk around with a pair of glasses on and have contextual information available to us. It's been the dream for a long time.
Yeah, and it's been in movies forever. And so from, what is it? From Minority Report.
It's a Minority Report, yeah. Minority Report's a big
sure.
one.
Yeah. Total Recall, the other ones like that, so stuff like that. I was watching The Expanse last week, as I mentioned in the last show. Like, they were showing it was just like in the shot. They weren't even trying to explain it, but they were just showing AR overlays. Like, I was trying to fix the spaceship out on a spacewalk, and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's exactly what's going to happen, and it's not even really science fiction. We don't have to get to 2075 to do that. We can do that next year.
Right.
So, I mean,
right. I agree. I think that's way closer than we think. By the time some of these sci-fi things, like, obviously they're just like they always have been, right? Sci-fi predicts, like, seems to be what's seemingly often near future, and then
near future.
We can't even, like, fathom what that actual future is going to look like. And we looked at some stuff back in, like, the 60s when they're talking about, like, technology and how it would be in the home, and it's like these big blocky things, and it's like, no, it's not. It's wireless now. It's like, it's nothing like that. It's like the year 2000 is like, no, it's nothing like that. So
pretty much everything except for warp drives in Star Trek has come true. We have communicators, obviously. We have communicators. We have real-time translation for language and stuff like that. You can do the things like that. You have, for next generations, walk around with those iPads. It was just so crazy, in the 80s, they're walking around with a computing device on its own screen, and, like, we literally have that right now. So wireless network, AIs, smart computers, controlling everything, we don't have a holodeck yet, but that is where AR is going to change.
That's the AR VR thing, isn't it? We kind of do. Kind of with VR. It's slightly different because you're not like you know what I mean? You have to wear a headset, but you can be in a virtual room right now. It's kind of like,
exactly.
It's kind of the idea.
Kind of cool.
So
will Mariotti break out of the AR environment and become a real person and wreck the Starship Enterprise? I don't know, but we'll see.
Maybe that's
my deep cut to the next generation.
That's the part that hasn't come true yet.
Yeah.
That's funny. Let's see. Oh, just this real quick. Ridge Raider's got ordered a Quest 2, so that's cool.
Nice.
The Elite head strap and an extra battery. Yeah, you do need the. I have the Elite head strap, and I'm actually waiting on another head strap too, that with an extra battery system in it, because the battery system in it is weak. That's the weak thing about it. The head strap and the battery are the weak things about it. The rest is golden. You get those two things, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
DM me on Discord, and I'll add you on there. We can play something. It'll be fun.
Some Population 1, man.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, let me see what's next. Infovid had another question too. Actually, questions time. What is the best web stack to learn?
So I think right now, I get asked this every time we get on the show, but like there's a couple of them. But I think right now it's still ASP.NET. So like ASP.NET allows you to build what we call a multi-page application. So SPA frameworks like React are build different kind of apps or things in one page. So knowing both of those things is kind of cool. But like if you're looking at corporate jobs, still a lot of MVC multi-page apps out there. They're fast, they're easy to build, they're things like that. You also need to learn a web API, which is a RESTful services backend if you're going to build something like React or something on the front end. And so all of those include C#. So I think ASP.NET is a good place to start. Could you learn React? Yes. Could you learn Angular? Yes. Can you learn Laravel? Yes. All of those things you can do. The Django you can do. You can do all of those things. But I think ASP.NET with C# allows you to build multiple things. And then when you throw Blazor in, now you suddenly have a SPA framework that you can use. You have a multi-page framework with MVC or Razor Pages, and you also have a web API framework where you can build REST services. So it does cover you once you start really breaking into ASP.NET, the stack, and utilizing C#. It's just what I think. I mean, but like there's more than one way to skin this cat for sure.
Just back to our other topic here about VR headsets. Can I currently use any of these devices external display for my PC or Mac? Yes, you can.
Yeah, Oculus is
you can connect up to Oculus right now. Yeah, well, you can hook it up right now through either desktop, virtual desktop, which is probably the better implementation, or even something as an app called Big Screen, which is designed to actually watch movies with people, and it's a cool movie watching experience. It's like going to the movies. It's very cool. Big screen in front of you, like it's great. But you can also have a version of that now where you can cast your PC into it. I don't know if any of them work with Mac. I don't think they do. I've only tried it with the PC, and it does work with the PC, and it's great. You can also put in the Oculus right now, native, you can put in your actual desktop. You can measure your desktop space. You put the controller on it. It'll put your desktop in there and a Bluetooth keyboard. It'll have pass-through so you can see the Bluetooth keyboard and type on a virtual screen. You can be sitting in front of a virtual theater screen, like with your desktop. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So yes, it does do
HoloLens, that. HoloLens is an all-encompassing computer. So it's a Windows 10 device or Windows 11 device that sits on your head in the unit. So like that is the screen to the computer. It is exactly what you're envisioning. And it's a translucent display that overlays in the real world. But can you open up Outlook and check your email with the HoloLens? Yeah, you can. You can open up a Chrome and browse a website. You can do that. So it uses gesture support, and it also has things like voice support and things like that. So you can just operate it.
Yep.
So is it faster to use than say like a desktop? Not at this point, but I think it's going to get there.
Yeah.
This is where new software has to come in and play. You can't envision using Chrome exactly like you would on a desktop and just stick it on a VR AR device and expect it to be great.
Right.
So the way information is looked up and indexed and the way it's retrieved is going to change. And that's where developers are going to make money. Where Chrome no longer is Chrome, it's something else. Hence why I keep saying like JavaScript and these kind of like in-browser technologies are going to change. You know, people are saying I'm crazy. I'm like, I know what you think, that this is the way it's going to be, therefore it's always going to be this way, but that's not true. This stuff changes every decade where we have massive shifts in how things are built. All I'm saying is it's opportunities, pay attention to it, and when the opportunity strikes, seize the day and learn something new and roll it out.
Definitely.
You know,
I'll say
we get so religious about JavaScript, like it's like this is how I make my living. You don't understand. Like literally, with people saying JavaScript will be here for 100 years. I'm like, no, it's not going to be here for 100 years. Like, there's no way. You know, it's like maybe they'll make a Star Trek episode in Discovery where they find a JavaScript code and someone's trying to debug it. You know, and they're like, "What is this ancient technology? We must solve the warp core." You know, like
But also, but by that same token, also C# won't be here in 100 years either. We're not saying it's just a JavaScript thing. We're just saying it's like, in general, people are so, like, I don't know, they're so committed to one thing and cannot see past it. They just cannot see that this thing will at some point be surpassed by something else.
Yeah, and so like you just have to look at these changes that happen in society. And then when you look at blacksmiths, I'm sure there's a blacksmith that hung on forever and ever and ever until he was the last blacksmith shoeing the last horse in town. And it's like everyone else is driving, the Ford car around, so like, what I'm saying is, as technologists, as developers, take advantage of these screen shifts. Don't fear them. Don't throw rocks at me because I think JavaScript's going to go away. Of course it is. I mean, like, eventually, is it next week? No, learn it today, make money with it today. But like, these screen shifts are coming, man. When you start looking at CES, that's why we bring this up, to tell you these people are rolling out headsets, and the more they come out, it's just a matter of time until Apple's comes out. And when that happens, it's 2007 all over again. Like, it's just suddenly everyone's changing it. And so Taz is asking, hey, can I run this on my Mac? Not yet. But as soon as you can, that's what Apple's saying. Yeah, we're on that. Like, we're going to get on that.
Oh, they're definitely thinking about that for sure.
Yeah. And also, the thing it does for Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Apple, and then a slew of these other startups is it resets the playing field. Once the screen shifts, they're like, okay, everyone's got to go sing for their lunch again. And so like now the best technology is going to win out. And then Apple goes, okay, they beat us to the punch on this. Let me go acquire this said company and pull it into my thing. So, I think that's what I see happening for a lot of small companies. They get acquired by these large companies, or they become the next large company. So when you look at the invention of the iPhone, that spawned Facebook, that spawned Snapchat, that spawned Twitter. That screen shift spawned those companies, and Mark Zuckerberg seized the day on that, and now he's one of the richest people in the world. Just saying, like, or you could sit there and say, I'm crazy, JavaScript's gonna be here forever, and I'm not changing on React until someone makes me. Fine, do that.
Go down with the ship.
Go down with the ship. I'm just not that married to it, so that's just my opinion. I'm off my soapbox now. But yeah, these things eventually will connect to everything. And I think that there's protocols that are going to be invented that allow wireless transmission of 4K data, so you don't have to be hooked or tethered to it. I think they're working on that. I think we'll work on power, battery, all these things that are coming together, a mesh network that covers the entire earth with fast internet. I mean, like, when you look at all of these things coming together, you're like, okay, this is going to change.
Yeah.
When I can get to, instead of 3 feet, which is GPS 2, GPS 3 is like inches or less.
It's
accuracy. That's like, what can we do with that? Well, suddenly now we can literally make a mapping system inside of like a HoloLens or whatever, extremely accurate, based on them walking down the street. You can drive a car without a driver because that GPS is that accurate. When you're talking about 3 feet, that's not so accurate, especially
accurate
when you want to drive a car. It's like, there's 3 feet either way. I can hit a truck, like that can hit someone on the sidewalk, so there's some other things that are coming down the pipe that makes all of this stuff possible. And then coders will be in there writing the software to make it usable. So I don't know.
There you go. I'll also say the opportunities for the apps too. We're talking about that a little bit. So recently, obviously Meta and Facebook released a couple of their native apps, right? So the first kind of, if you will, 2D apps they bought into Quest, right? So they bought into VR. They bought in the Facebook app and the Instagram app, and I think a productivity app too. But I'm not played with that.
Right.
I played with the Instagram app. Okay, the experience sucked. It's terrible. It's just not good. Port. It's just a port. It's a window, right? And here's what I don't know what they were thinking when they did this. It's more of a proof of concept because it doesn't do, because the experience is so bad. So if you scroll through Instagram, right, on your phone, like, your images take up the whole of the screen, or at least part of your screen. You can see the entire image. The default window in the AR window is too small to see an entire image on the Oculus.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? It's bad. it just shows you that there is opportunity there for even like the basic of basic apps to be done correctly.
Again. Do them again.
Like this is like their first effort.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yep. Yeah, it needs to be done again. You can't just slap the 2D window on there and expect it to work. Because I can tell you now, it doesn't. It's a bad experience.
That's what the web developer is going to do. I'm saying you have to be an AR developer and you have to learn new
100%.
tools to do it.
100%.
And that's why I keep telling people, like, this is why things like JavaScript and HTML and CSS and all the things that we absolutely rely on today, once that window changes, they'll say, well, we don't need that stuff anymore. You need to build this with something else. And that's where you get it. You look at what Microsoft's doing, you say, okay, I see what .NET MAUI is going now. Like, this is what they're thinking about. I promise you, I'm not on the inside of it. If they're not thinking about it, they're way smarter than me, because I know they are, because I've thought of it. Therefore, 300 dudes and ladies sitting there at Microsoft have thought of this for 10 years, like saying, this is what we're going to go. And you just build that like you do a game, and that's just a different way of building things. Totally. It just is. So technologies are changing, you know?
And so what I wanted it to be, the experience of like Instagram on my Quest, was like, so Instagram is pictures, right? Like, why don't I just have a floating picture here, right? And I can just flick through them, right? So I just flick through the pictures.
Swipe them up and down. Yeah.
And if I want more info, I can either like swipe up to get the info, or I touch it. Exactly. Yeah. Or I touch it to read, like flips over and I see the thing. No, it doesn't do that. So the opportunity to build that app literally exists right now. Like, somebody should be building that.
You can grab the image, flip it over, read the back of the card, put it back.
Yeah, exactly.
You can put it over here and say, let me see another one, and put it up here, and you could just build these tiles out.
That doesn't exist yet. They've slapped a 2D thing in a 3D world, and I can tell you now, it is a bad experience. So the opportunity to rewrite these things is 100% going to come. No question.
100%. Yeah, no question in my mind. Learn how to build a game is what I would say. If you're already coding. If you're not coding, learn how to build a website today, because that's where you can make your money today. But if you're out there and you already know how to code and you're not looking at Unity, you need to.
Yep, definitely. Here's a quick one, and I can't read the name. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Yeah.
But best way to learn C#, I'll give you the quick answer. There you go. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. We don't plant these. We really don't. Thank you for asking. So, learn.coderfoundry.
Yeah, go check out learn.coderfoundry.com. Excuse me. Sorry. Let's see. Oops. What am I doing here? Wrong thing. Taking it off. Heard a lot of people say making games is a good way to learn C#. You've done this, right?
I think learning Unity is a good way to learn how to make games. It just so happens that the language for Unity is C#. You're going to have to know C# to build a game in Unity.
So you've got to kind of learn two things there, right?
Yeah.
The Unity platform.
Here's what I would say, though, is yes, you can learn the language. And I've always said this, focus on what you want to build and then pick the stack based on that. And so learning how to code C# and build in Unity and then turn around and say, okay, now I know how to code, therefore I can build a Windows app, isn't true. There's different things about each of these platforms that are different. Yeah, you'll know the language, but you need to know the language in the context of the thing you're trying to build. So I think if you want to build games, learn Unity, and you'll also learn C#. If you want to build websites, learn ASP.NET, and you'll also learn C#. But those two behaviors and what you have to know are different, even though the language is the same. And you'll have a lot of crossover between it, but you still got to understand 3D environments and the controller and all that kind of stuff to make Unity games work. Where the website, you got to learn about HTML and other kind of stuff. So there's a lot to know, but there's a good way to learn crossover the language.
Oh, okay. Here's a good question. Mudacia wants to know, what do you think about Web3 and blockchain? And do you think that C# and .NET will be used in Web3 and blockchain?
Of course I do. Yeah. Well, I mean, so a lot of people think that Web3 or blockchain is going to be the replacement for Web2. And what increasingly people need to understand, it's an addition to, it's an additive thing. It's not a replacement of. And so if you're doing web pages and CSS and JavaScript today, and you're building a Web3 app, yeah, you may use Solidity as your Ethereum blockchain development, smart contract development. But there's also .NET wrappers around that to make that easier. But you're still going to be building websites and interfaces with something else. So there's a lot of technologies that you can be used in for building a Web3 app. That's just not writing a smart contract. That's just one part of that puzzle.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception. I see that a lot on tech Twitter. It's like, how do
But
I get into Web3? It's like, you got to be in Web2 first.
Not really. I mean, like, you got to build a UI of some sort to get your thing out there. Yeah. So if you look at OpenSea, for example, NFT, it's a website, man. There's a Web3 component underneath it, but it's a website.
Right. And that's the thing. I think that's the important thing. It's still Web2 kind of on top, and there's this kind of Web3 underlayer, right? It's
when it makes sense to do it that way,
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Which it's actually it's another good point too. It makes sense when to do. Not every website's going to be a Web3 website because it doesn't make sense to do it that way.
Right.
In some cases, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, again, right tool for the right job.
Yeah, exactly. Unless there's a universal identity of some sort that they could route under that.
Right. But that would be replacing all DNS and everything. We're talking about that kind of stuff, right? That's totally different. Okay. Zach says, love the vids. Working on a coding challenge site. Awesome. In my code explanation section, should I put my full React code or an abstracted version without things like hooks, form JSX, component code, etc.?
I think you make the decision on what you want to do. You can put the full code up there, but you also, I think what you're leaning to is, what if I put out the important snippets of it and then have an explanation to the right-hand side of it? It could be very powerful.
I like that idea.
So like, so you can use that code explanation as a teaching tool. Here's what you really need to know. And I think that's a better way to do it. Now you can also just slap the entire code base in there too, and that's easy. But you can also take the time to take a snippet out of your code, highlight it, write some markup about it, and say, here's what I was doing here, and this is why it does that.
I like that idea. That's the way I would like to.
Either way can work. And so sometimes you're right, React code can be a lot of ceremony, and it's too much stuff to stick back there in that prism window. So like, just push what you want.
Okay, Suyash says, what do you guys I guess think of NFTs in 2022? Utilization everywhere?
Not everywhere, but I do see NFTs. We'll see. I think the limiting factor for NFTs, and let's talk about the difference between an NFT and like gorilla images, okay, and art.
Right. There is a difference.
That's what most people think about. When I talk about NFTs, is like a non-fungible token, period, and it doesn't matter what the token is about. Do I see that getting used a lot? Yeah. Do I see being art exploding? Yeah. Do I think there's a bubble there? There's got to be. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, there's got to be, because there's no intrinsic value to some of these, and then the art itself isn't fantastic. It's just people believe it will go up, so they keep buying it. So eventually, people won't believe that. So, but does that mean you shouldn't buy an NFT right now? Yeah, if you want to, man.
No, obviously, I want to make some money.
I wish I'd bought some of them. I haven't. I mean, so like. And maybe I'm old and I don't understand, but like, the NFT itself is just a token that can't be changed, that has proof of ownership. Right. So I think NFTs will go beyond what art is. I think what you're seeing is art is the proof, like, hey, this works and this is kind of neat and this is kind of cool. There's some very unknown things about NFTs that are kind of cool. In other words, like, I can produce an art, and then my smart contract can make sure I get paid every time there's a resale. Okay. Before, if you're Picasso, you only got to sell your Picasso once, even though you're Picasso. And then that thing's going for $100 million, 200 years later, you don't get any of that change. And so now it's even like stretching the boundaries of like, what's copyright and like, those kind of things. And now it can be enforced, that smart contract. That's what NFTs is doing. That's actually cool, in my opinion. That you can create something of value, push it into an NFT, prove the ownership on it, and then also build out a way to get paid constantly as that thing trades hands. So a little commission.
Yeah, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. Yeah. I found it interesting. I saw an argument at one point about somebody saying that the NFT is like, it's like somebody had pushed back and saying like, I don't understand it. Like, why wouldn't you just copy it? And somebody pushed back saying, well, it's like the Mona Lisa. There's only like one original, and you prove there's only one original. And while I get that, I think it's a terrible analogy because the Mona Lisa is a physical item. It was painted by an individual. It has physical brushstrokes on it. A picture of the Mona Lisa is not the same as the Mona Lisa, whereas the digital version of the image is a direct copy of the digital version of the image.
Right. And I had an argument about this guy on Twitter that supposedly knows a lot about this. It was just seemingly
it was
misses this point. I mean, but like, it's like the NFT is a contract, and it also says, here's the creator of this, and here's the owner of this, guaranteed to be the creator and the owner are authenticated to this. The item itself can sit on Amazon or sit on a web server somewhere or wherever like that.
They were making a point pushing back about like illegal images for NFTs, right? That was their pushback, wasn't it? Yeah. That was their reason for saying that. And it's like, well, it's no different.
It's no different than it is today. So where it's hosted is irrelevant. And so what I would say, my pushback on that was like, well, if you got illegal images, you're not creating an NFT for that, because then it just proves that you are saying you own said illegal image. You're tying it back to you physically. You're going to jail. So like, so it's not going to be used for illicit means, but always these technologies get used for illicit things, and they get used for good and they get used for bad. So that's not a reason to kill NFTs necessarily. But I do think that they're going to be used for other types of things other than images. So you'll see other types of documents, other types of smart contracts,
certifications, and those kind of things, and contracts, and that's where it's. I do think that's going to happen.
The limiting factor of this is the gas fee. So when you start looking at Ethereum, it's like, geez, it's expensive to put this in the blockchain. Like, so that will be, for the business use of this, will always be the limiting factor. Like, okay, if that's going to cost me $27 to mint this contract, I'll just email it to the guy.
Right.
So like that's going to be where will we have a utility blockchain that has more of a stable price like the dollar, that doesn't rise and fall like this. That's just a utility blockchain that allows us to perpetuate the transaction itself. And it's like cheaper.
Yeah, because you're right. The fluctuations.
Ethereum's on a scale like this. Bitcoin's like that. So like it's, and then it can go down like that. And so, hey, mint all the contracts you can. Bitcoin dropped today, or Ethereum's dropped today. Let's mint them. It's cheaper. But so I think that has to be worked out, and I think eventually it will. That'll stabilize, and you'll just have some kind of blockchain that's cheap to run, and it's utility. It's like electricity. It just work.
Yep.
But it's not for everything. I mean, it's not for everything, but it'll be for some things.
Definitely. Let's see. Captain Clutch, what are your opinions on companies like Reviture, who teach how to code but lock you into a contract for 2 years? We've talked about this.
So I haven't looked at a contract recently, but here's what I think. Number one, if you're learning to code, and they're going to teach you to code, so they're going to put you through a similar boot camp, but they're going to pay you while you're doing it. And then you have to work that boot camp price off during that 2 years, but you're also paid. So you're earning a salary. Now, is the salary the max salary that you could get on the free market? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't really matter. That's what you're signing up for. Now, what I think is okay about this, I think it gets a bad rap, is that you're actually being paid. So you're not an indentured servant, or a slave, like some people try to make it out to be. An indentured servant is, hey, I'm going to let you grow potatoes on the land, and you can't reap any benefit from the land, and you don't own the land until you meet X obligation. That's indentured servitude. That's illegal. That doesn't happen in the US. Here they're saying, I'm going to pay you X, and if you leave before this contract's up, you owe me the cost of the boot camp because I paid to train you. I think that's a fair arrangement. Now, if you can get a job doing something else and you want to be a total free agent, then learn a different way, pay for your education or do it by free, and then go out in the open market. But they are giving you a job. I think it's a fair arrangement. And there's a contract length to it with a penalty if you leave early. But you're not a slave and you're not indentured. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being paid to do
I think that's what puts people off with it, right? It's because there is a contract and you are tied to them, and it's like there is a penalty, and that kind of thing makes people feel like, oh, that's bad if there's a penalty if I leave.
Yeah,
it's not like it's a surprise.
That train you can pay for the education if you don't want to stay for 2 years.
Right. And it's not like it's a surprise either. It's not like they bust this on you and be like, you're fired tomorrow and you owe me $15,000. That's not how it works. Yeah. It's like you understand this going in.
Read the fine print. If you get fired to let go or whatever, you don't show up, what happens? So like I definitely read the fine print on that. I don't know that answer to one that could be negative in your favor. So,
yeah.
But imagine that a fair one would be if we let you go for lack of work, you don't owe us anything. I think that would be pretty fair. But otherwise, people wouldn't sign up for these things. I think they're trying to train you, get you, and pay you. So even if it's below market rate, it's not bad. It's not minimum wage.
We're a little bit over, but let's do a couple more.
All right.
Can a felon get a job as a developer? Currently, they are being taught IT. Yes, we've seen it.
Yeah. So in general,
to be honest,
in the U.S., there's certain rules around felonies. Okay, so I don't know everything. I'm not a lawyer, but in general, felony searches for background checks are like 7, maybe 10 years. So like, so if they do a background check on you, then it could show up after 7 years. Now there's certain felonies, maybe violent felonies, that always show. You can look at the background companies to do that, but some of them, they just go off and they're not reported on a background check. If they don't check your background, well, yeah, go work as a dev. I mean, like, not every company does.
That's the point. Not every company does. Trust me. If you go and apply at Bank of America, they're going to check your background. They're going to find you felony no matter how long it is, and you're just going to have to live with it. You're probably not going to work there. Mom and pop shop down the road that needs an inventory system.
If you committed financial crime, you're probably not.
Oh, you're never going to work. Yeah, mom and pop shop down the road though, maybe not. So
maybe not.
We've seen both.
In general, here's what I would say, Kay. And if this is not you, you're asking for a friend, it doesn't really matter. What I would say is this: when I look at societal barriers, and you look at these things, hey, I'm a felon. You can't change that at this point. You did what you did your time, you went to jail, and now you're out. And so like what you have to do is, what do I have to do to overcome those things? Okay. So I have to have great skills, great interview skills, and a good story of like how you've changed your life. Or if they're not checking it, don't even bring it up. You don't have to bring it up the first time you hold a conversation, with someone. Say, hey, do you want to work for me? Did you know I was a felon? That doesn't have to be the first thing out of your mouth. It doesn't mean you lie about it. I mean,
if asked, you're going to have to admit it. Yeah, you're not going to. You definitely don't
lead
lie.
With it. You have to be leading with it. Like let's lead with our portfolio and the things that I'm doing. So, in other words, what it comes down to is when I work with students is the societal factors, or what we call external factors, that we believe control our destiny. And I believe that the internal things that you do can outweigh those in a lot of cases. Is a felony a black mark? Yeah, it's a black mark. Can't change it anyway. So just go about your business and learn being taught IT and break in a different way. Try to live the straight and narrow life going forward. Everyone makes mistakes and everyone has skeletons in their closet, and try to do it better going forward. Tomorrow's a new day. That's the way I look at it.
Let's do one last one because we have a good answer for this one too. So RI is stammering. Will it affect my chances in a FANG interview? Let's just say in an interview at all.
Yeah, but can't change it. And we've had people come through Coder Foundry that had the same issue, and they're working today. So you can work with either therapy or like that to improve it. But I would address it right up front. And if you have to speak slower on purpose to help you, you have to like learn breathing exercises or whatever you can do. You can improve that and you can overcome that. But it's not necessarily going to keep you from doing it. It wouldn't stop me from learning how to code. And don't limit yourself to a FANG interview.
Right.
Just open yourself up to the world of software development. And FANG it's great, but it's not necessarily Mount Olympus like everyone thinks it is. In fact, I would say now, like if you watch tech Twitter, Facebook is having a hard time with people.
And also, I sort of think
if you work for Facebook, they're just killing you on the internet like you're suddenly evil. Like, well, I'm working on the Oculus. Is that all right? No, you need to quit right now.
I actually saw a thing yesterday too about Amazon and Netflix not doing so well stock wise. So it's like this mythical thing. It's like they basically Apple and Google were the two stocks to own. The rest were like, I don't know, maybe not so good anymore.
So number one, don't let your issue, stammering, or if you're a felon or whatever, dictate you not even trying. Let's just go forward and try and fail versus deciding I have this issue, therefore I can't win. I've seen people come through the boot camp that have stammering or stuttering issue, and they have overcome that and become a developer. So I think you should try, and you should try to do it, especially if you have the aptitude to do this. Then you can work on that part. That can be overcome. It just, and even if you can't overcome it physically, you can address it right up front. Say, hey, you know what? Sometimes I stammer a little bit, so just bear with me as I walk through the interview. But I know what I'm doing.
There you go. One last shameless plug for the road.
Yeah, that's it. All right, and I got to get back to class.
There you go.
I'm late.
Yeah, you do. You're late. Sorry. If you want to learn how to code, you can check us out. learn.coderfoundry.com. We have a self-paced option there. Go check it out. That'd be great.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll get back to class. Good luck and keep coding. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Or maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Thursday. We're on an off day. It's weird. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be back. We'll catch you guys later.